Dementia researcher with a blog and a rating. Reflections on co-analysis in dementia research. Lessons from the D-Pact study. Hello, I'm Lorna, an early career researcher and PhD student, and this is my first time writing a blog. I'm excited to share some insights from the D-Pact study on our approach to co-analysis. I hope these reflections will be helpful to fellow researchers. As a brief introduction to the project, D-Pact, which stands for Dementia Personalised Care Team, involved developing and evaluating a primary care-based model of post-diagnostic support. This support was delivered to people with dementia and their care partners by a dementia support worker on an ongoing basis. During the D-Pact study, we had a peer research group support the project since it started in 2018. This group was comprised of individuals with dementia or experience of caring for someone with dementia as a family member, partner or friend. We would meet every 2 to 3 months to work on various aspects of the project together, from ethics applications and recruitment strategies to developing tools for dementia support. As the project progressed, we wanted to explore opportunities to involve the peer research group in co-analysis. This blog will talk through how we approach co-analysis with some final reflections and recommendations at the end. Co-agreeing working arrangements. To start, we discussed different approaches towards co-analysis, making decisions together. We talked about factors that could limit choice, like data availability, given we were still in the midst of data collection when these discussions started, and other logistical factors, like whether to meet online or in person. We opted to maintain online meetings due to health reasons limiting travel. Training was another topic covered. We'd previously offered and encouraged training where possible. This included 2 members receiving Talking Mats training to help co-develop an interview tool. However, we were aware of concerns shared by other researchers that training could influence interpretations or create a divide between so-called lay and expert working relationships. After discussing potential advantages and disadvantages, the group members decided they didn't need training for co-analysis, but that the option should remain open. Preparing data for co-analysis. We decided to start by co-analysing recordings of support meetings that included the dementia support worker meeting with a person with dementia and, if applicable, their care partner. However, our consent forms didn't allow for peer research group members to review raw data, so we had to anonymise these recordings. We tried various methods for anonymising, including cutting out identifiable audio, which created awkward silences that were misinterpreted as glitches in the recording, or using bleeps, which were jarring to hear. For visual footage, we used a sketch filter to keep some detail whilst ensuring anonymity, but it made the visuals cluttered. You can see an example of this in image 1 in the written blog. This filter was particularly difficult to decipher for one group member, as his dementia affects his senses, making concentrating on these messy visuals burdensome and confusing. For example, he described how the light fixture looked like a tree coming through the window, or the carpet pattern looked like a train set. Recognising these issues with using the sketch filter, we then tried a blurring mosaic over the faces of those in the recording, which you can see in image 2. This was found to be less confusing, but limited non-verbal communication cues from facial gestures. One group member suggested asking the participants if they'd be okay with sharing the original footage. While possible, we were hesitant to recontact participants who might not remember the recordings, and we would still need approval from our sponsor and ethics committee to do so. Reflecting on this, we considered whether our consent forms should have included peer research group members as part of the team for reviewing select raw data. Speaking to other dementia researchers, we've become aware of a move towards the opt-out approach in the consent process, where individuals could decide how comfortable they would be having non-anonymised data shared for co-analysis purposes. Peer research group-led approach to reviewing recordings. An example of the typical structure of a D-Pact co-analysis session was as follows. A small group, 1 to 2 researchers and 2 to 3 peer research group members met on Zoom. Researchers provided context about the data to be analysed. This included anonymised recordings of a support meeting between a dementia support worker, a person with dementia, and sometimes their care partner, along with anonymised case notes written by the support worker. Researchers reiterated the session's facilitation plan, including when to pause the recording and offered chances for questions or adjustments. After reviewing data, group members shared their observations while researchers took notes and asked any clarifying questions. At the end of the session, we reviewed what was observed, discussed if the co-analysis approach was effective, and considered any suggestions for improvement. Researchers sent out notes shortly after the session to ensure accuracy and gather any additional thoughts. To ensure the group shaped analysis, we played recordings from the start without pre-selecting clips. This approach was guided by a recommendation drawn from Jemima Dooley's 2022 paper on co-analysis using video recordings. Here she found although the co-analysis was participant-led, pre-selecting clips presented a power imbalance as participants queried the representativeness of the selected clips. The peer research group talked about how those first unedited 20 minutes were key. Here is a quote from peer research group member Martin. You knew in the first 20 minutes about the body language and the rapport between them. Before starting, we gave contextual information and broad prompts, but otherwise stayed quiet during the discussions. Group members could prompt us to pause the recording and to share their thoughts immediately, while this frequent pausing sometimes disrupted the flow and ensured immediate observations weren't lost. Deciding how to proceed with co-analysis. For the first co-analysis session, the peer research group reviewed a video of a support meeting between a dementia support worker and a person with dementia. For the next session, the group members were keen to see how things evolved between the same dementia support worker and person with dementia by co-analysing the next support meeting, along with any notes taken by the support worker to compare with their own observations. We scheduled the next co-analysis session a few weeks later, giving us time to prepare. Reflecting on this process, the peer research group noted that having sessions closer together would have helped recall and continuity. When scheduling became difficult, we tried one-on-one sessions, but group discussions were preferred for better idea exchange. Pre-planning a series of dates might have helped maintain momentum and allowed us to better prepare data for analysis. Here's a quote from peer research group member Bob. At the end of the day, this is one of those processes that develops, doesn't it? And you don't quite know which way you're going to go until you're into it. Final reflections and recommendations. Here are some key takeaways from our co-analysis journey. 1. Involve people with dementia and carers in analysis. Including peer research group members in analysing support sessions revealed important insights we might have otherwise missed. 2. Be transparent and make decisions together. There was a lot that we reflected on during and after the co-analysis process. In talking through options and making decisions together, the process was inclusive. 3. Be realistic with time. Co-analysis takes time, especially when offering choices and adapting to lessons learnt. Building co-analysis into the project timeline will help this happen meaningfully. 4. Schedule activities closer together. Regularly scheduled sessions help with continuity and might assist recall of previous sessions. Planning a series of dates in advance can ensure smooth progress. 5. Consider what data to share and in what format. Think carefully about what data you're likely to share early on. Properly designed consent processes save headaches later. While there might be a debate about sharing non-anonymised data, early planning is advisable. And finally, a note of thanks. A big thank you to all the peer research group members whose dedication and insights were invaluable to the D-Pact study. A special mention goes to Edna, whose passion and commitment left a lasting impact on our work. She will always be remembered for her warmth, humour and openness. And that's a wrap on my reflections. If you're a researcher thinking about co-analysis, I hope you find these insights helpful. Until next time, feel free to check out more about the D-Pact Dementia Support Study via the link in my bio.
Thank you for listening. Join the Dementia Research bloggers and share your own views.